Hi, hope you're well. Just a quick thought for this week's Sedra. This week's Torah reading is Pinchas. Happens to be have a special meaning for me because it's my Bar Mitzvah Sedra. I'm named after Pinchas. Um, uh, and for this week, we'll start by saying that a lot of Sedras, not all of them necessarily, but a lot of them have a theme or a word even that can be used to encapsulate the trajectory, the general sense of what's going on in the Sedra. And for Pinchas, you can see that the theme is going above and beyond, doing more than what you needed to do what was expected of you, even perhaps. And we see that in Pinchas. I'll tell you a little bit about what happened with him. But he could have basically been like the rest of the children of Israel. He could have sat back, done nothing about the idolatry, the immorality that was going on around him, perhaps even participated in it. We then see the daughters of Tzlofchad. This was a man who died without leaving any male heirs, and that would have meant that his daughters would not have inherited their portion of land of Israel. They could have sat back and taken it, sucked it up, but actually no, they wanted to have some part of the land of Israel and perform the mitzvahs that go along with that. We see the anointment of Joshua as the successor to Moses. Again, Moses was very much pushing for this, and it's something he could have just sat back and just said, well, if I'm going to die, let whoever take over. And lastly, we cap it all off by learning about the Musaf offering, the additional extra offering that was offered up on Shabbos and festivals and Rosh Chodesh in the tabernacle. I think in the tabernacle, but certainly in the temple. So it's all about going above and beyond, and the obvious question: why? What is that got to do? What is it that we're supposed to take away from that? And particularly what I would say is we're at a juncture in Jewish history where the Jewish people are about to enter the land of Israel. They're at the plains of Moab. They're just about ready. How is that sort of a going above and beyond, sort of setting them up and as a way of being ready to go to the land of Israel? Two things from very non-Jewish sources that I'll start with. Firstly, talking about Ed Burt, my first boss at a deco, who was a big rugby fan. And he was always pushing this book here for me, the book by Clive Woodward about winning. I don't know if you know the story, but Clive Woodward was the England rugby coach who in 2003 took England to World Cup. They helped. He coached them to win the World Cup in 2003, and his mentality was about winning, focusing on winning. So he would book the hotel room for the celebration. He would have the balloons out. He would have the champagne on ice, so to speak. He would make sure that they had fresh shirts to wear, fresh clothes to wear at the end of the first half to wear for the second half. He would treat them like winners. And what his view was, it was a bit like we hear about visualization. He was saying, right, we're going to win. It's just a case of getting through the game and making sure that happens. Okay, so I'm assuming that you've won. It was taken as a given that they were going to win. And he did it by visualizing, showing them what it's like. There's the cup and we're going to lift it up and this is what's going to happen. Then we're going to go to the hotel and have a few drinks and celebrate, and it's going to be great fun. But we need to get through to that first. And by picturing that, they were able to see themselves as winners, so that when they went onto the pitch, they saw the whole journey was a sort of how we're going to do it, not an if. So that's scenario number one. Scenario number two, as some of you may know, I'm a little bit of a Spurs fan, and Tottenham Hotspur have appointed a new manager a few weeks ago now. His name is Ange Postecoglou. And he was interviewed. Actually, they put out a Q&A with some fans, and he gave a really interesting answer, because he took what Clive Woodward said a step further, and he was asked about winning mentality and that sort of thing, and he said, everybody wants to win. What's more important than having that mentality to win is believing in something. That's what separates the special athletes from everyone else. No one goes into a game wanting to lose, but if you can believe in something beyond just that end result, and that gets you the end result, that's when you can create something special. And I love that. And you'll see why in just a moment. I want to take you back to the Sedra Bahar, and I appreciate we're sort of jumping around a bit. The Sedra Bahar is the Sedra before the end of the previous book of the Torah that we've been reading, Vayikra, Leviticus. And right at the beginning, the Sedra starts, Moshe, Bahar Sinai Lemor, that God said to Moses at Har Sinai, and he said, and he starts to talk. It introduces the Sedra by saying this happened at Har Sinai, at the Mount Sinai, and starts to talk about the sabbatical year and agricultural laws. And I want you to picture yourself. The children of Israel are a bunch of slaves, okay? All they've known for many of them was slavery, doing as they were told, building, okay? And then they come to Mount Sinai, and God's talking to them about, or Moses is talking to them about agricultural laws, what it's like to be a farmer, what you're going to do. It's hard. I can't imagine how they would have even known what this conversation was about, what these laws were about. What is a farmer? What is land? What are crops? Everything, their whole lives were done for them. Rashi kind of says that just as all the other laws in the Torah were given at Har Sinai, so too were the Shemitah laws, so too were the agricultural laws. In other words, there's a sort of tie-in between the law, the agricultural laws, and all the other mitzvahs that they were being given. And what I think we're saying here is exactly turning what I've just said on its head. Saying, yeah, Moses wasn't just saying, we're going to this land, it's going to be great, you're all going to be fine. He was saying, no, I want you to picture, like Clive Woodward would do many thousands of years later. He said, no, I don't want you to we're not just going to turn up at the land and everything's going to be fine. I want you to picture yourself as farmers. There's going to be growing crops. And when you grow those crops, after 3 years, the first fruits you're going to take them to the temple. And then every 7 years, you're going to have to rest the land. And then every 49 years, there's going to be another year of rest that we're going to have as the 50th year. And then this is what you're going to be. There's going to be other types, and there's going to be this and that. By picturing that, by getting them to think of themselves in that zone, he was setting them up for a mission that, don't forget, at that time they didn't know about the spies and the 49 years and the 40 years in the desert. They thought they were going straight from Sinai straight into the land of Israel. So for them, he wanted to make this as real as he possibly could. This wasn't just going to be a journey. This was a mission that this was going to accomplish. But that was at the end of the book of Vayikra, Bahar. Fast forward to our Sedra, Pinchas, which is at the end of Bamidbar, and yes, we've had all of the incidents and we've had all the complaints. But things have moved on since then. And you can see by the nature of the complaints that the mentality of the children of Israel has also evolved as well. So whereas before, right at the beginning, they were complaining about the food and water and stuff like that, which, you can understand perhaps why that might be. If you're stuck if you've been taken out of the desert and you're taken out of Egypt and you're in the desert and there's no water, that becomes a bit of a problem. So you can understand kind of, but it was very sort of base kind of on Maslow's pyramid of needs. That's very down at the bottom. What we see here is a mentality where, like I said earlier, they're going above and beyond. They're not just saying, why is that? Why does this suck? Why is that like that? They're saying, we want to do things better. Pinchas is in a situation where, for reasons that I think even the Rabbonim are struggling to understand, the people of Moab team up with the people of Midian. They were otherwise sworn enemies to each other. And for lack of a better phrase, they lead the children of Israel into immorality and idolatry. Okay, to set them up against God. Okay. You can read about the details in the beginning of Pinchas, at the end of Balak, to get more details. But it wasn't a pretty sight, and God sends a plague and wipes out 24,000 people as a result. But amongst them were leaders of the children of Israel, were leaders of each of the tribes, were involved. This idolatry and immorality was so spread so far through the camp that it was right up to, this rot was going straight up to the top. And Pinchas stood up for that. He wasn't afraid to stand up to the leaders of the tribe of Shimon. Don't forget, Levi and Shimon were two tribes that had a strong allegiance. There was the incidents with Dinah and Shechem way back in the book of Bereshit of Genesis. He was able to stand up to his leaders, just like the daughters of Zelophehad as well were able to challenge Moshe, not on why are you a leader and why isn't things better. They were actually saying, we want to know what the law is, and this isn't fair. We should be able to. We want to do more. We want to participate in these mitzvahs. We want to pay a portion in the land of Israel. We want to do what's been taken away. We want what's taken away from us. So, and again with the Musaf offerings, we don't want Yom Tov to be just another day of the week. We want to do a little bit more. We want to show an extra commitment to God. And if we're showing that sort of mentality, then Hashem's taking us look at it and saying, yeah, these guys are ready for it now. They're ready for that land of Israel. They're ready to be there and to be what it takes. Because as Postacoglu says, and many others say, and as many of our great Torah commentators say, it's not just about doing and winning and achieving. It's about having a purpose, having a meaning. Because having a meaning gives that sustainability to the people, gives them that extra edge, and is what's going to take them and push them above and beyond what the challenges they're going to face. So it's not just about accepting what's there and saying, oh dear, things are as they are. And Israel, the land of Canaan, as it was called back then, was a mess. It was idolatry. There was all sorts going on there. And, looking back to what we've done to what the Jewish people have done to the land of Israel since then, turned it into a high-tech venture, a high-tech hotbed, agriculturally, desalination, innovation, all of these things that we've gone above and beyond what we could have just sat back and accepted as a sort of basically a wasteland, a deserted wasteland. So that is what's propelled the Jewish people forwards, is that sense of meaning. Yes, we can talk about Viktor Frankl as well, and what his ideology was about. His book was about the search for meaning. Putting that extra edge on top of just winning is what's pushed us through, and that is what keeps the Jewish people going through all the challenges and travails that we have. That is why that theme is so important for this Sedra as we are about to embark on our final step of our journey to get into the land of Israel. Thanks for watching. Wishing you and your family Shabbat Shalom.